All right, back at it here. We got the KX80 sitting up on the bike stand. Finally found a place that had a Stator kit in stock that didn't cost $300, which would be absolutely absurd. Okay, we picked up a Stator kit from Rick's Motorsports Electric. Went right to their website. I think they similar ones sell on eBay for about the same price. Okay, so there's your original Stator with the backing plate, harness, and the flat 4-prong plug. Here's your Rick's kit as it comes with your primary and secondary coils, ground wire, protective cover for your harness, a little bag with some screws, and the connectors to change it away from the 4-prong to individual. I don't know yet if I'm going to even bother doing that. I might just splice into this, that way we can retain the original plug. Instructions, very simple. Now, the color coding of their wiring doesn't necessarily match the factory wiring, which is why they give you this example here, so you can't really screw it up. Okay, so first step, obviously, is to remove the coils, and I've already loosened these up. They weren't that tight. So you can see you've got long and short screws. All right, and that corresponds with the thicknesses of the two coils here. They're held in the back with a ground wire and this little retainer. You can see the retainer just gotta bend it a bit to get it over. Okay, so all we did here was cut the wires up a little bit, because obviously you can't put the coils through these slots, and separate them. Here's your stator coils put back in. Screws are all tightened down. Just take note of the way I ran the wires here. Okay, primary wire goes down inside and it comes up through the large opening, stays behind the little tab. Secondary one came two different ways. The top wire that's off the edge, the side here, goes through this smaller port, and the wire that comes off the bottom comes through the large port. I don't know why they separate them like that, but that's the way they did it, so that's the way I do it. Same way it was in the factory. Ground wire is attached. In this case, it's a black and yellow. I retained the original clip and the wire shielding here that was on the old one. Put it all back in just like it was before. Okay, so that stator assembly is basically done and ready to go back on the bike. Obviously, I still got to splice in the wires and whatnot, but I can do that with the stator on or off. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so there's our stator screwed in loosely. If you're ever wondering how to do timing on one of these bikes, there's the timing mark on the backing plate, and there's a little pointer in the case. All right, the rotation of this engine is this direction, so counterclockwise. So to advance the timing, you rotate this entire assembly that way. And what you do is you measure the distance from that pointer to that line. Usually you want a 30 thousandths of an inch gap from the pointer advanced to the right to that line. Again, I'll check those numbers before I actually set it, but that's how you do them. So the last thing we got to do now is splice in our plug back to the wires, which are a different color than the factory, and my colorblind eyeballs aren't going to do it very well, so I have my helpers going to help me with it. Alright, as per the drawing, there's our plug. Alright, it shows you the factory colors, black and yellow, white with a red stripe, and white with a green stripe. I cut them at different lengths, which is just something I do to help prevent shorts, and it makes the connections a lot cleaner and smaller. And I matched up those links corresponding with the Rick Stator unit, which, as you can see, is different colors. The white and green goes to the green wire. the white and red goes to the red wire, and the ground goes to the black and yellow. What I'm going to use for my connections is these, instead of crimping them or soldering them, these are a shrink wrap shielding with a little blob of solder in the middle. I used them when I rewired my tractor because I wanted something a little more outdoorsy and waterproof, and they've held up really well. They're a bit of a gimmick still, but I tried them, and like I said, they seem to work really well, so I'm going to use them on this unit. Okay, so when you use these, all you're doing here is you bare off enough wire to go into the soldered area, like so. Find your matching wire, go in the other direction, make sure that that's in the solder, so the two should meet like that, and just heat them up like you would any regular shrink tubing. Okay, there's our finished product. It's still a little bit warm. Shrink tubing did its thing, solder did its thing, so we have a good solid connection that is relatively waterproof. Okay, I went ahead and did it without videoing. Timing is set. I don't know how well you can see it there, but roughly 30,000ths of an inch advance on the pointer. Torque for the flywheel nut. All right, common question on the internet is 22 foot-pounds. Okay, when I get to doing these, there's special tools that you use. If you look here, there's a little hole on this side and one exactly on the opposite. And it's basically the same as this. You clamp it, it goes into those holes. You can make a tool, you can buy the tool, or you can use one that you already have. That is not on there really tight. Alright, you can see I can close it with one finger. Alright, it's just enough to hold it with the compression of the engine, having it in gear and a whole 9 yards. That 22 foot-pounds is not going to rotate that flywheel. As you can see, has no problem holding it. There's your 22 foot-pounds of torque. Alright, we're all wired up here. Plugs put back in. We're going to check for our spark now. And all you do is you ground out your spark plug. The reason we take the spark plug out, it makes it easier to pull over. You're not fighting the compression of the engine. You can use an actual spark plug tester, or just do what I do. Ground out the spark plug, hold it with a screwdriver so you don't shock yourself, and get someone to pump it. You see, we got a nice healthy blue spark. Got the little man learning the trade. Alright, here's the KX80. Get it started after that stator change. Got my test pilot here. Okay, finally got the KX80 running there. Took 4 or 5 kicks. I didn't show the 20 kicks before that where somebody forgot to turn the fuel on. Yeah, you. Anyway, Rick's Motorsports Stator kit. Cheaper option, just the coils, not the backing plate, so you save yourself about half the money. And easy rebuild, solder a few wires, splice a few wires, or use the kit provided with the new tips, whichever is your poison. Anyway, they are a pretty decent bike. It's an 87, it's old, it's an antique, but there are still parts out there, and Rick's Motorsports has your Stator, and I'm not sponsored by him, by the way. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.